My name is George Ramirez, and I'm the Executive Director of the Lawrence Partnership, and this is the Lawrence Partnership Citizens Academy. I think we have staff here. We've got our Deputy Director, Karina Calderon, and we have Giselle Figueroa, who's our staff associate. So we formed this program about a year ago as a way to help the community learn a little bit about what goes on inside City Hall. And the mayor has been fantastic. He's been working with us, and he sends over a manager once a month, and that manager comes and presents themselves and what they do in the community to the group. So I won't keep you long. This is Chief Roy Vasque, and we're delighted to have him. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Ooh, wow, that's really loud. I'm not sure if I'll stay with the mic, but we'll start to begin with. So obviously my name is Roy Vasque. I'm the Chief of Police here in Lawrence. I've been the Chief for this is now 5 years complete. I've been with Lawrence for 30 plus years now. And really before I begin, I'd like to introduce a few people in the audience, specifically for their support, which you'll see as we go along in the presentation. Councilor Anna Levy, Council President Mark LaPlante, and I'd like to introduce a friend of mine, David Hobbs, who's now the new Northern Essex Community College Chief of Police. So thank you. Like I said, I'm obviously the Chief of Police, but I'm also the President of the Massachusetts Major City Chiefs, which is the organization that oversees the 42 now largest communities in Massachusetts. Communities like Worcester, Springfield, Boston, and things like that. So I'm very proud to be the president and obviously help bring some more resources to Lawrence as a result of some of those boards and things that I'm on. So as I go along, there's going to be a couple of slides up there, but I'm not going to use them word for word or anything, just kind of a go-by for me to try to give you a little update on what's going on in policing in Lawrence. So I'm born and raised in the city of Lawrence, educated. As a matter of fact, I graduated from the old Lawrence High School, which is right across the street here. Very proud of that. Obviously, the new building is phenomenal. Been there obviously many, many times. And again, one of the many projects that the city, the mayor's administration, the councilors have really put behind, got their support behind to really bring Lawrence to the next level. And I think that really shows in our police department as well. I think we've come a long way, especially in the last several years, in the things that we do. Where in the past we used to be behind the eight ball, so to speak, but now we're really leaders in law enforcement, and people are looking to us to really do things correctly, and I think that's a big part of all the support that we get here from the council, the mayor, and the administration. So we'll just get right into it. The department itself, we're budgeted for 167 officers. We currently have about 160 on the roster. 2 in the Northern Essex Community College Academy graduating in March, and another 10 to 13 going into the next academy starting January, February. So we're pretty good budget-wise, and I say that because in policing, there's a very big problem with trying to get officers on board. Now, less and less officers, individuals taking the test, and then officers wanting to leave their individual departments to go other places. We have been very fortunate to kind of stay above the trend, and we're doing pretty good there. We are the only majority police department in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you. We're very proud of that. The only out of 351 municipalities. I think that says a lot. Certainly in policing nowadays, with everything that's gone on, not only in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, but across the country, with policing, you really want to try to mirror your community. And I think we do that obviously very well with being a minority police department. That being said, we are also very proud, and I'm also very proud of the fact that when I started, we only had 3 female officers. We have well over 20. So what that update is there, 19. So we go up and down a little bit with females that we actually had one that left to go to another department. So we've gone from literally no females to now 20, which is amazing. Probably more females. Yeah, that's really good. More females than most departments. And again, I think that we could talk about diversity and trying to be reflective of your community and trying to get more younger people involved in policing. Certainly want females and males to join us in this profession. Number of veterans as well. I think at one point we were almost half the department was veterans, which is great. Obviously, military service really helps you in law enforcement. You have that sort of military style of that really trends into policing very well, so that works out as well. We do have a number of civilians as well helping us in the day-to-day stuff, traffic control, call takers, things like that. Probably make up another 23 or so individuals there. So we're close to almost 200 staff. This is a comparison with some other communities, just where we're at with crime numbers and things like that. So we have, we're not doing too bad. We're a inner city, obviously. We have only 6 square miles here, over 100,000 people, really, when you think about the undocumented population and things of that nature. So there's a lot of people for a small area, but I think we're doing very well crime-wise. So it just shows you where we're at. We're comparison to Fall River, Brockton, New Bedford, and Lynn. One thing I'll say about all of those departments listed up there, they all have a lot more police officers than we do. New Bedford and Lynn as examples, they have 200 plus police officers. Like I said, we're at 167. So you can think about the amount of work that we'd be able to accomplish if we had another 30 police officers. And there are some statistics out there that the FBI puts out about how many police officers you should have in comparison to your population. If we follow that number, on the books we should have about 204 compared to the census. But really we know there's a little bit more people than that in the city of Lawrence. So really we should have about 220 police officers. But as we know, more police officers, more firemen cost money. The city's doing what they can, and we're doing what we can with the staffing level. I think we've done a great job with that. Just a bunch of different highlights in the department. So we are in a great 5-year trend, probably the best 5 years in the history of the department. I think it was, so 2020, COVID years, was everybody's best year in policing, obviously. Not a lot was going on, everybody was inside, crime numbers were down. So if you take out 2020, 2021 was our best year. But really, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 were our best 5 years in the history of the department. And when you talk about numbers like auto theft, at one time we were known as the auto theft capital of the world. Imagine that. City of Lawrence, 6 square miles. 1,999 cars, almost 2,000 cars stolen a year in the city of Lawrence. 6 or 7 cars stolen every day, each day, every week, every month. This year, 100 total. So that's an amazing number, really. To go from almost 2,000 cars down to 100. And another interesting statistic in the auto theft world, when you take out the number of vehicles that were stolen with the keys in it, people leaving them running, whether it's the winter or the summer to keep them cold or hot, it's probably about 20–25%. So if you take out those cars, we're really, we're really doing something special. They're well under 100. So, and that translates to, we hope, less insurance rates and things like that for the residents. So, and again, not only that, but reputation-wise for the city and things like that, because we're always trying to bring in businesses, and that's something that City Council would obviously love to hear. So again, there's a number of highlights here and in the book. I would encourage you to go on the website. You can take a look at, we put out quarterly reports and also a year-end report. A lot of statistics in there. It really reflects the work that we've been doing for the last 5 years, like I said. When you look back at these last 5 years compared to, say, 2017, some of the crime numbers are pretty amazing. Down 60% overall in crime, down 33% in violent crime. And although we've seen other places really crime numbers tick up, Dorchester and places like that, we haven't seen that here, knock on wood, thankfully. So we're always very happy about that. But there are a number of awards up there that the officers have done. We talk about our female officers and our Hispanic officers. We, for the first time, promoted 2 Latinos to captain. We've had a number of female first female detective, Hispanic detective, first community policing officer, motorcycle officer, drone officer, a lot of firsts in the department. So it's really good. Nationally, we've been awarded a couple of things as well, so it's really good to hear when we talk about wanting to be leaders in law enforcement. We are still trying to initiate the body-worn camera project. 2 years in a row now, we've gotten grants to fully fund the project, but we have to work with the unions to get them on board. The way the funding works is that you can't use a dime unless you get them to agree to it. So that's a whole negotiation thing. If you know anything about unions, that can be a tough thing, but we're trying to do it. Crisis intervention thing. Mental health is a big part of policing now, and obviously in the world. So we're really trying to take it to the next level. We're getting clinicians on board, things like that. Again, we've been very good with getting grant funding. So we're trying to get a lot of mental health clinicians involved in dealing with some of the calls that we go to, so our officers don't necessarily have to go to those calls or can interject themselves. Just an interesting statistic, 25% of police shootings statistically involves something with mental health issue. So that tells you that if we could do a little bit more there, we can interject clinicians and civilians in that role, and not police officers, and maybe we can prevent some of the shootings that may unfortunately happen. Again, every year we put out a number of goals for the department, usually around crime-related things, community-related things, and things of those nature. So again, there's plenty of those things for you to see. The new police station headquarters, this is another project, like when we talk about the city council, the administration getting on board, you know, it's a long overdue. If you've ever been to the building, it's in terrible condition. We had one of the floods, 40 inches of water in the first floor. I kid you not, 40 inches is quite a bit of water. Things floating around down there. It's not a good atmosphere. But thankfully, you know, the building was built in the 1960s, really outdated when it opened. But we are getting ready to actually break ground. We did a ceremonial groundbreaking with the governor and things like that, and the city councilors and things like that. But we're hopeful to break ground in a couple of months, build the station in about 14 months. It's an amazing, I think it's $62 million now, 62,000 square feet, probably 3 times the size of the building now. One of the big highlights of the building that we're very proud of is on the first floor. There'll be like an all-glass 70-seat auditorium where the community room, as we call it, where the community could come in and speak to the police officers and us, could hold regular meetings there, and or the community can have their own meetings there. Boys and Girls Club meetings or whatever you can think of, basketball organizations.
Citizens Academy meeting. There
you go, Citizens Police Academy, exactly, great idea, yeah. Along with all the latest and greatest, obviously, technology for the officers, we will actually have our integrated dispatch center. We'll have police, fire, and EMS under the same roof, in the same room. Doesn't happen now, so that will obviously make our services a lot quicker response time for the citizens, so we're looking forward to that. And again, when we talk about, in order to get something like this done, you need the city councilors to get involved. We can't just, you know, make this happen on our own. And I would say, to the community, that has been great. We've had a number of meetings prior to that, and very few people were against the idea of a new police station. I think everybody understands that nobody wants to be standing outside that building, you know, trying to wait for services because there's no lobby, standing in the rain and things like that, or being able to have an office or an interview room where you could speak to an officer without everybody knowing your business, things like that. So can't wait for that project to get done. It's going to be amazing, really. That's kind of like the icing on the cake for us. There's just a rendering of what the building might look like, pretty close to what that looks like. The sign itself will be illuminated and things like that. Again, I can't wait to get in there or see it built and have you all go through there. I think you'll really be amazed. And again, another positive thing for the city of Lawrence, you know. Coronavirus, I mean, everybody knows about that. Certainly a challenging time in policing. While everybody stayed home, if you will, police officers certainly came to work day in and day out, and we dealt with that situation. You know, fortunately or unfortunately, the way you look at it, we all dealt with Columbia Gas back in 2019. So I would say that only because the department was very well trained in response, and especially responses of this type of nature where it was ongoing. The Columbia Gas incident was a 4-month process, day in and day out. Coronavirus still happening today, but back in the day when everybody was at home, we were doing everything from obviously still responding to calls, but having to you know, open up clinics and field those types of situations as well, and the department did a great job in doing that. This was an unfortunate case. Johanny Rosario, the sergeant that was killed overseas. We were happy to put together this, and we've done a few other things memorializing this event. Obviously very tragic, but really able to do something for the family in her memory, so we're very proud of that. Police reform, as we talked about earlier, it's a challenging time in policing with everything going on from George Floyd and all of that. I will say this, spoken on this topic, you know, many, many times. I think that we do things better here in Massachusetts in terms of our training our officers and responding to calls and things like that. Certainly as a result of what went on in the Midwest, we've had to change a few things. However, it was kind of interesting when they started asking us to do certain things, like have certain protocols in place, no choke policies and things like that. We were happy to turn around and say, we were already doing that. And I can tell you 9 times out of the 10, when they asked us to do things, we had already been doing them. So again, I think in Massachusetts, policing is at another level. So I think although police reform, is out there, it hasn't been as challenging as maybe it has in other parts of the country, because we were probably in a good place already with our policies and things like that. As the councilors know, I think we do a great job in the police department with going after as much money that's out there as we can, everything from staffing to equipment to technology. We'll talk about it in a minute, but things like funding cameras and things of that nature. So every dime that's out there, we go after it, and we try to use that to further our own budget in the police department to get the services out there to the community. One of the projects that I initiated after I took over, we had a canine unit about 10 years ago, and had gone away with the retirements of dogs and never really came back. I'm proud to say that we now have 2 canines that are now on board and everything, helping us recover firearms and narcotics and searching for individuals, whether they're children or adults that are in need. So I'm very proud of the unit. Again, most of the unit was funding, again, through another grant, the Stanton Foundation, which was awesome. So they funded new dogs, new training, the cruisers, all those things. We took advantage of that. I will say too that the unit, this is another example of how we talk about us wanting to be leaders in law enforcement. Our canine unit has received awards. They were just put out on the Stanton Foundation catalog that goes out to more communities wanting to apply for the grant. They used us as sort of the poster child because of our success in the program. Just a couple of pictures there, the 2 canine officers and their dogs. The citywide camera project, probably my most probably happiest moment, I would say, or this was kind of like my pet project when I took over in 2018. I realized that we were going to be, there's only so many police officers that we had in the department. The city really couldn't hire as many more that we needed in order to really try to tackle crime. So in thinking about how we could address some of those crime issues, the camera project came to mind for me, and it's been wildly successful. It's a force multiplier. Instead of having a cop on every street, you almost have a set of eyes on every street that we could go back to and solve crime. I can tell you that this is probably one of the most extensive camera projects in the Commonwealth, if not beyond. We have now probably 450 cameras on the project. We've also taken it to the next level where we've incorporated this into the DPW. The cemetery is now on board, schools, all the parks are covered, the water department. So we've really kind of everybody got on board with trying to solidify and secure their facilities, but also allow us to use that. We manage that, and it's been, like I said, tremendously successful. Really where we see our biggest sort of gains in the cameras is that in our clearance rates for crimes. All of our crime success in solving crimes, when something happens, we have a great success in solving them very quickly. Our clearance rates are above the national average in every category, and sometimes double and triple that. I can tell you in the past where we may have gone to an incident and we wouldn't be able to investigate because there's no witnesses, there's no victim, let's say. Even something as simple as a shots fired in the air. You have kids where they want to show off and shoot a couple rounds in the air like nitwits, and generally we'll go to the scene, you have some shell casings, but you have no victims, you have no witnesses. Many times we wouldn't even investigate those things. Now, we're actually investigating those things, solving those things, charging those things. Now, it may not sound like a big deal to you, but that individual that's doing that is probably going to be responsible for 3 other things if we didn't charge them with this. Small percentage of people do a large percentage of crime. That's a fact. So the quicker you can take somebody off the street, simple math will tell you that they're not going to commit all these other crimes. That's going to help bring down your crime numbers. So the camera project, again, has been wildly successful in solving crimes very quickly, taking those people off the street. Also, the word gets out, hopefully, that there's cameras everywhere. We're not going to do anything quote-unquote stupid in the city of Lawrence because we're going to get caught. So again, go somewhere else to do that sort of thing. So I think that's been very helpful as well. And again, we have a forensic unit that deals with all that sort of thing. Drone unit, again, just trying to stay on top of technology, all the things that we can help us with, everything from solving crimes to mapping out areas to finding missing children. So we didn't have a drone unit before. We now have 3 drones, can do different things. We actually have a drone that can fly indoors. So at the high school, if you think about if we had a serious incident there or a business, fly the drone in, see what's going on, and respond from there. Again, our first drone operator, FAA licensed. By the way, it's not just someone that goes out and plays with the toy. was a female officer. So again, just another first for the department, and we're very proud of that. Again, the unit's been tremendous in helping us do all those things. Again, just different views of what the drone can see. Again, just updating the technology. During Columbia Gas, we had that 4-month-long, day in, day out, 24-hour scenario. We were using an old camper as our command post. I mean, just brutal, broke down many, many times, and the generator broke and things like that. If you could think about, when we're out on the street, you can't be back at the police station. You have to be on scene. Obviously, this incident, Columbia Gas, happened in South Lawrence for the most part, so we have to be out there on scene. You really need a place where you can gather a bunch of people, have a meeting, have individuals take a break, do things like that. So we didn't have that, but again, we've upgraded a lot of our technology and equipment. This is one example. This is a $350,000 piece of equipment, again, bought with Columbia Gas type money. So again, no cost to the city itself, but now an advancement in technology for the department. And we've used this at many, many things, fires, serious fires the fire department uses and things like that. Going back to the drone too, I would say that we also assist the fire department with fires. Our technology with the radar and stuff, the heat sensors, they can see fire spots and things like that. We've helped them out with that as well. So we definitely, and again, help other departments as well, DPW, for different things that they're trying to see in parks and things. So one of the things I'm probably most proud of is the community outreach and the community policing that we do. It goes without saying that we try to attend everything, whether it's a basketball program, a community meeting, any sort of event. You have our specialty cars here, we'll call it. We took some old cruisers, instead of just discarding them, we had them painted for different colors. We have an autism one, domestic violence, a bullying car, and again, we just use those to go out to different events, put the bullying car at the high schools or at the grammar schools, just to try to have a conversation with kids. It's been, again, wildly successful. One of the most interesting community policing outreaches, I guess we'll say, is that we bought an ice cream truck. So I know that I took a lot of grief for that, by the way, when I first brought it up. The mayor at the time, Dan Rivera, thought I was crazy. He's like, "You want to buy an ice cream truck?" I said, "Yeah, well, there's an idea behind it." And it's been, again, amazing, the response from the community. If you think about putting uniformed police officers out there in an ice cream truck, just giving out free ice cream to the kids and also the parents, by the way. I think there's been a lot more parents probably that have come out to the truck. And again, it's all about just having a conversation and having the kids see us in a different light, having them come up to the truck, ask some questions, and work on that police-community relations. Again, it's been so successful. We've had calls to go to other communities. We don't do that, but we've actually had people, "Hey, can I use it for a wedding? Can I use it for this?" It's been really awesome. Other departments are now trying to replicate the idea about trying to get their officers out into the community. So again, I think last past year we gave out 5,000 ice creams. So the ice cream truck itself was bought with drug seizure money, and the ice creams themselves are all paid for with donations. So not a single tax dollar was used at all. So I think that makes the program, even better. That the fact that it doesn't come out of the taxpayers or the city's budget. I think the council will be happy to hear that. But again, what we get out of it has just been tenfold, if not 100-fold. So again, just some pictures of some of the events we go to. Again, we go to so many events. It seems like sometimes it's almost daily, but again, we do it because it's been a huge success in what we do and trying to get back to the community and build on a relationship. Spoke about this earlier, but Lawrence is obviously a very busy place, 6 square miles, but a lot of work to do. We average somewhere around 65 to 70,000 calls for service. That's an incredible number. Just to put into perspective, probably North Andover, they probably service about 20, 25,000. So at 3 times that amount. It's just that the officers are always going. It's a very, very busy place. So credit to them for keeping the crime numbers down and continually going down, and also being able to service the community in this fashion. It's a lot of work, but they do a great job. Just again, more statistics are in the book about arrests and things like that. Our arrests have been going down. Obviously, we're trying to do a little bit, we're trying to be a little bit kinder, if you will, or gentler, if you will, and trying to really do other ways of really trying to deal with things, more programs and summonses and things like that. Arrest is really sort of our last resort, if we have to. So our arrest numbers have been going down, which is, pretty interesting when the arrest numbers are going down along with the crime numbers, so that's a good thing. Just some other statistics in there, everything, all the different categories that we do. This is just an overall crime number that's gone down, so you can see, way back there, in 1999, almost 4,000 Part 1 crimes. It went down a little bit, but it spiked up, 2011, 2012. It really was at that peak for a while. And even back, 2017, it was at 1,758. And ever since then, it's gone down, down, down. So where you look at it now, from 2017, where it was at 1,758 Part 1 crimes, to 2021 at 661. That's, again, a huge, huge number that's gone down. And again, you look at our clearance rates are here as well, they've gone up. So when you look at the clearance rates here, as an example, in 2021, total crime clearance rate 63%, violent crime 82%, which is obviously very important, property crime and things like that. And you can see how it's really trended up with the technology and really the improvement of the training and certification of the officers. Again, we have a number of units. Domestic violence we take very seriously. We have a domestic violence unit. We talked about motor vehicle theft. Again, 156 was our historic low last year, and now we've gone 50 cars less than that, which is amazing. We're down to 100 even for this year. So you can see some of these crazy numbers that have been out there in the past, 1979 and 1,786 and things like that. So again, we talk about our clearance rate. The national average is 13.8%. We're double that at 26. So again, the technology and things like that, giving the officers the tool to be able to solve something, take somebody off the road. And again, you get that kid arresting that vehicle, hopefully he doesn't do it again some other time because he's off the street. So that's the idea behind that. We talked about community policing, all the different things that we do, and all the different stuff that they do as well with citations and all of that as well. They do a lot of traffic enforcement based on complaints. So they do a lot of work. We have a business liaison, an officer strictly working with the businesses, checking in with them. We want someone that they can work with one-on-one so they can call about an issue that he can address it. In the past, businesses like everybody else would have to call the station. You'd always get different people. Sometimes you wouldn't get that issue resolved, but when you're dealing with one person that's kind of his thing, he'll help you get the issue resolved. So again, that's been very successful. Just some stats on the street crimes unit, all the things that they do, the drug unit, gang unit, things like that. We have officers assigned to the Lawrence Housing Authority to help us deal with the different projects there. We do youth diversion programs, open gyms, things like that. Again, we talk about the community policing aspect of it. School resource officers. I know that this has been sort of a controversial issue in the world of policing. A lot of municipalities are looking to remove police officers from the school. I don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form. Just recently, we had an incident at the high school where an individual brought a firearm to the high school. Obviously, worst nightmare, right? Someone saw it, called 911, the officers were already there. Within 15 minutes, we had the individual, the gun, all that. Thankfully, the individual didn't go to shoot anyone, but had a firearm in the school. So I'm a big advocate of having the officers there. We actually dress down our officers now. Instead of looking all military in the traditional uniform the officer has here, Officer Dela Cruz has here in the back, they actually are more business-like, casual, so make the individuals feel a little bit more comfortable. We have a comfort dog now. The school was very interested in bringing a dog into the school, comfort dog. People love it, the staff love it. Everybody loves petting a dog, so it's been successful as well. But the program itself has been very, very effective. We do a lot of training, everything from the academy. Again, this is another area where the city council comes into play. For many, many years, the department was not trained appropriately, didn't have the funding to do so. Back in 2018, when I approached the then mayor about trying to adjust the training schedule, we came up with the training funding. We came up with $300,000 that was allocated from, used to be $30,000, which is amazing. So again, a credit to the city council for getting behind that. You want a highly trained police department. It's really showed in our professional development and getting our officers the best technology, the best training that they can get. It's really paying off in the community. We're seeing that with the crime numbers as well. Just a list of the many, many, many different things. Opioids, obviously, is always going to be an issue. We continue to try to address that. Now we're trying to take it to another level where in the past, we would just respond to an overdose, if you will, sent them to the hospital, that was the end of it. Well, obviously, we realized that we need to try to get to the heart of the problem, work with them, work with their families, track them down, see if we can get them services so we can, get them help, obviously. It'd be one less individual that we have to deal with as well, and hopefully that's the best case scenario. So we're trying to take that to the next level. Just social media and things like that. Obviously, we do a lot of social media and try to get the message out. Everything from crime prevention to all the success stories have, whether they're community related or crime related, really try to keep the public informed. Those are just some of the websites that are there. So obviously I'm very proud of the department and what we've done. I always say that we are the hardest working, or the officers, the men and women of the department do a tremendous job. They are the hardest working department in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts from, like I was saying, the calls of service. So for them to be able to do what they do with the number of police officers they have and drive the crime numbers down, like I was saying, historic 5-year lows. We'll be putting out some statistics again at the probably at the end of the month that's reflective of the 5-year trends. And you'll really see the difference in some of those numbers that have really fallen off from where we used to be. Again, we talk about the fraud capital of the world, arson capital of the world at one point, auto theft capital of the world. Doesn't help the reputation of the city of Lawrence, so really we take that to heart. Like I said, I'm an individual that was born and raised here, so I take that very seriously. That really aggravates me when people say something negative about Lawrence. So again, we're always trying to bring Lawrence to a better light. So if we can drive the crime numbers down, make people feel better about what's going on here in the city of Lawrence, and take it seriously, I think that's what all of us want. We want to get businesses back here and residents feel comfortable here. The best way to do that is through public safety. So we're very happy about the work that we've done here. So I thank you for your time, and I'll be happy to take whatever questions you have.
Any questions?
Yes. So I have a colleague that she couldn't be here because of work, but she wanted you to share with the community here about, if you could speak about question 4 on the past statewide ballot, what it means for the community and why you got involved in the campaign and Driving Families Forward coalition.
Sure. So I'm very, proud to be, the face of question 4 is appropriate, but obviously I did a PSA in support of that, not only as a police chief in Lawrence, but obviously as the president of the Major City Chiefs. I feel like in our community that it's appropriate that we have a number of individuals here trying to, quote unquote, make a living, do the right thing for their families, be productive. These are individuals that are already here. These are individuals that are trying to be productive in the community. The last thing we want them is to be in fear of the police. So when I look at this, in this situation, I think that it's a no-brainer for me that, we want people that are highly trained the same way as everyone else. Again, these are good people trying to get basic services for their children, food, medical, get them to school. They want to get to work. In the event that they're involved in an accident, the individual that they're involved in an accident now has somebody that's licensed, insured, that's been trained. They're not going to be fearful of the police. They're not going to hopefully now cooperate with the police in other matters. We need them, we need you all to help us make things better. So again, it's about relationships with the community, relationship with the police as well. So again, these individuals are here. We are not, by the way, the first state to do this. I think we're the 13th, 14th state, if not more, that's already done this, done the research. There has been no real issues with doing this. The licensing part of it itself, it's very stringent. It's not easy to get this license. The documentation that you need is probably more than what Massachusetts requires now for its residents to get a license. So we're very happy with that. I can tell you, years ago, when this first was brought up, I was not fully on board yet because of that very fact of documentation. They really have tightened that up. We've worked with them, the groups, to really strengthen that part of it, and that made the police chiefs much more in favor of it, and certainly me. I would not put my name or on my face on something that I didn't think was correct or right, and also important for here, the community in Lawrence. So I was very proud to do that. I was very proud to see it pass, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have like satellite or district offices in Lawrence, or is it just the headquarters?
Main headquarters for the most part, but we can't, like I was talking about the building, we can't fit everybody in the building. So we do have a community policing substation in South Lawrence at the McGovern train station. Probably about 20 officers work out of there, the auto theft unit, community policing officers, and sometimes the drug unit.
And do you still have police on the beat, like walking the beat, or is everybody in a cruiser?
For the most part, we obviously definitely have people in the cruises, but we do have walking beats, and obviously we pick that pace up in the warm weather. We certainly want to cover the business district, walking downtown and things like that. The community policing officers take most of that. We do have some overtime funding that we'll also put out for officers on bikes. We'll put the motorcycles out, but certainly people like to see officers, walking the beat, and we do that. We pick the different neighborhoods to walk around, and sometimes we'll walk around with the counselors as well. We'll do that and walk around the community, but biking as well.
Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Okay, I read in the newspaper, Rumbo, 131 city employees resigned the last 3 years. After the officer receive special training, you have any restriction to avoid to the police to resign?
So really, the only thing that we have in place now is that if they try to leave Lawrence to go to another civil service community, that's where we are. We fall under the Massachusetts state law, civil service. We're a civil service community. We have to let them go. We have to sign off on letting them leave. And I can tell you all the money that we spend, the counselors spend on training these officers, to your point, we don't just let anybody leave. We have lost some people, I would say, since 2018, I think, there's been 43 officers that have left the police department, but I'll tell you, 27 of those officers were natural retirements, officers that spent 32 years here, they're maxed out, it's time for them to go and retire, they're up in age and do something else. The 16 remaining officers left for various reasons. We lost 4 officers to Massachusetts State Police. They're trying to better themselves, professional development. They feel like they want another avenue in law enforcement to take. 2 officers went to Massport. 1 officer went back to his hometown of Saugus, 1 back to Lowell. Those officers took the test again for those municipalities. There was nothing we could do about losing them. 1 officer resigned under investigation, and 2 officers left policing altogether, which you never used to see back in my time when we took the exam. You stayed forever, basically. But people nowadays are deciding to do different things in their career. So the majority of the police officers that come here stay here. So I think our retention is better than most. And I can tell you, retention in policing is a big thing in staffing. Boston Police Department is down 300 officers. Massachusetts State Police is down 400 officers. The Sheriff's Department down 82. Haverhill's down 8. Lowell's down 6. It's always a big issue. So it's not just here in Lawrence, but we're not having a bigger problem as people might think.
Happening everywhere.
Right.
Chief, I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for your hard work. I know that over the last maybe 7 years during the Dan Rivera administration and now Brian, you guys have worked really hard to bring in officers that represent the community, and you've been very successful at doing that. So I applaud your department, I applaud the administration for helping us get there. I think we're probably one of the first in the country. One question that I have, though, regarding the leadership or the supervisory role, what percentage, where are we in terms of percentage for that?
For minorities?
Yes.
So I'd have to get you that exact number. I don't want to be misquoted, but certainly as we've been hiring more and more, obviously the leadership has gone. I talked about having the first Latino captain ever in the history of the department, and then the second one to follow very, very quickly. And for a little while, we had 2 out of 3 were Latinos. We hired a 4th captain who's not, so now we're at 50-50. But naturally, what you're going to see now as we hire all these police officers that are Hispanic, it's not going to be too long before all of them start taking the promotional exams. So probably within 5 years, you'll have a majority of the supervisors will be minority at some point. But it's going to take a little while to catch up with that. But there are a number of them, but I don't know exactly off the top of my head. It's not a majority, I can tell you that. But again, naturally, with everyone only being minority, you're going to have that very quickly.
Thank you very much for working on that progress, and a lot of us see it. So
no, that's good. No, I think it's great. To your point, we are the only one in Massachusetts, and probably one of the few in the country as well. So it's kind of an interesting statistic for sure.
Can you share the business liaison, the name of the officer who's in charge of?
Sure. Again, that was one of the first things that we did when I took over in 2018. I felt like it was very important to do that. It's Officer Abel Cano. He does a great job. He's very well suited for that, has a great demeanor about him, loves to talk to individuals, so he's perfect in the role. And like I said, they now have someone that they can call, have contact information, and he doesn't just do it himself, but you know, he's one that kind of coordinates things. So if they're having an issue with lighting, roads, or anything, it doesn't have to be necessarily crime related. He will be the conduit to get that situation done. Like I said, whether it's something wrong with the sidewalk, a parking issue, or if it is crime related, he'll also take care of that as well. So if they're having a drug issue, as an example, they're seeing something, he'll coordinate with the certain units in the department to get that done. And what I can tell you, it's been very successful. The business owners are very happy to be able to reach out to one individual and really talk about their problem.
Thank you.
Welcome. One of you. Yep.
Excuse me. Don't mind if I speak. I just checked out a book at the Lawrence Public Library an hour ago, and I was wondering if you have read it, called Lawrence Police Department Heroes in Blue.
I think I've seen it a few years ago. It's been a while since I've seen the book. Is that the one by Ronnie DeSantis?
You're on page 43.
Oh, okay. Who's the author of that one? Is it Ronnie?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Ron.
Yeah. So, the former officer that actually wrote this, I got to ride with for a few years before he retired, and unfortunately passed away recently. But he was actually I should say, like our council president, very individual, very into the history of Lawrence. This individual was very into the history of the police department. Did a great job in trying to capture that.
And have you sign it, but I think library protocol. I'm not sure.
You could certainly do that after
These
if
are
you
free
like.
though, I think.
Nice. That's awesome.
Thank you,
That's great to know. No, it's a great book.
One more?
Okay, getting back to the question about business liaison, I got to go along on a ride-along for a couple hours with Officer Cano, who was part of the Citizen Police Academy from about 4 years ago, as he went in and contacted the business. It was eye-opening. They were happy to see somebody really here. Okay, enough said about that. Now, all my travels, all my rantings and ravings and Facebook, one of the biggest complaints we have, and this is a business-related symposium type situation, is anything going to be done about the double parking on Essex Street?
Yeah, I mean, there's always something more that could be done, right? We could always be doing something better. If we had more bodies, we could tackle more problems as well. There's no shortage of problems, and quality of life issues is something we try to tackle as well after, as we saw up there in the statistics, after the officers are answering almost 70,000 calls a year for service, so we try to get to those things. We do have traffic control officers, but I notice myself as well, Essex Street, Common Street, very narrow type areas, very highly congested. As everybody knows, with all these individuals in the city now, there are so many more cars than it used to be. You go down any street now, and trying to get parking space anywhere is very difficult, so it's challenging. That means you can have all those people coming and going from the city, plus the people coming and going at work that don't necessarily live here. You're multiplying the number of cars. It's always going to be an issue in an inner city. We certainly try to get enough resources out there, but it's always going to be something that we're dealing with.
As a suggestion, hire more traffic enforcement officers and let them walk.
Yep.
The car stops, it's double parked, it's tagged.
Oh, fortunately for you, there are two councilors here you could talk to about that, so I'm sure they may take that suggestion. That's more a question for them, but yeah, we're happy to, we're certainly going to always continue to try to adjust to that, for sure.
Well, if there are no more questions, I just want to thank you all for coming, and thank you to the chief, and let's give him one more round of applause. Thank you all.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.